A shower doth not a drought break. That's right. A single rain event like the one we've been experiencing for the past few days is not enough to break the current dry spell. So, it's very important that we continue our water conservation practices. You're tuned to the island's premier source of positive information on Jamaica Land We Love. With me, your host, Adrian Atkinson. We continue our program with a word of advice and then the news. Stay with us.
Water is precious. So we encourage everyone to practice the 4 R's of water conservation. Always remember to reduce your use of water wherever possible. Replace water wasting devices with water savings devices. Reuse water wherever possible. And wherever leaks are found, please repair them and repair them quickly.
Don't delay. Practice the 4 R's of water conservation today.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, June 3. The body of late former Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Edward Seaga, arrived in the island at the Norman Manley International Airport on Sunday. Draped in the national flag, the casket was escorted by members of the Jamaica Defense Force, JDF. Also on the flight were family members, which included his widow, the Most Honorable Carla Seaga, and daughter Gabrielle. Prime Minister Andrew Holness headed a strong representation of government officials observing the proceedings. Mr. Seaga has been accorded a state funeral, details of which are expected to be announced shortly. Meanwhile, a period of mourning is to be announced by the government and condolence books opened at locations across the island. These include the Office of the Prime Minister, OPM, in Kingston and Montego Bay, municipal corporations, Gordon House, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Persons overseas will also have the opportunity to sign condolence books, which will be opened in all diplomatic missions. Government is reporting over 90% support for the plastic styrofoam ban in the island, just 5 months after the initiative. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Darrell Vaz, says this is largely due to the extensive public campaigns of several government entities.
We, in this administration, have taken the bold step, and thankfully, the citizenry has supported it. I don't know of any other policy that could be deemed as controversial that has gotten a 90-odd% support, not by the government's own data, but by independent pollsters. So it means as a people, we are realizing and seeing the damage that is being done to the environment by these bottles and improper disposal.
Minister Vaz was speaking last Wednesday at a public forum titled Adapting to Climate Change Resilience Action Plans, My Responsibility. As of January 1, 2019, the government has imposed a ban on the importation, manufacture, and distribution of single-use plastic bags, straws, and polystyrene. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, says it received approximately 15,000 cases of child abuse in 2018. Chief Executive Officer Rosalie Gage-Gray says while the cases include all types of abuse, physical abuse continues to be more dominant. She says Kingston and St. Andrew topped that list in 2018 with 425 cases, with St. Anne in second with 265. In regards to negligence, Kingston and St. Andrew led with 377, followed by Manchester with 320 and Westmoreland with 266. Mrs. Gage-Gray says for 2019, the CPFSA is averaging 1,200 cases of abuse per month, which is worrying, and urges persons to get involved and break the silence.
We want to encourage our children that they too can make the report. You can talk to your guidance counselor at school, your class teacher. You can talk to your peers. You can talk to a trusted adult, somebody who you think would be able to forward the information. We also want to say to adults as well, and it's very critical, that we believe the children when they report.
Mrs. Gage-Gray was speaking on JIS's current affairs program, Get the Facts, on Sunday. Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson says he will be petitioning the government for members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, to be paid full pension after serving 30 years in the force. Major General Anderson says officers serving over 40 years are unable to apply for full pension because they have not reached the retirement age. He says applying for early retirement should not be an option.
In this kind of stressful work, you join at 18. 40 years later, at 58, you have to seek early retirement. You don't see something wrong with that. After you have completed, in my view, 30 years, you should be able to call your full pension.
The police commissioner was speaking at the Jamaica Police Federation conference recently. He assured the officers that their JCF pension scheme is among others that are on the public employees payment system that allows for payment within 30 days of retirement.
So what will happen is it goes to the various places, finance, auditor general, all of these administrative general department, all in one go electronically, so we can get the rapid turn. So you're not out there having left waiting months and months and months.
And finally, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin's listing of dwellings exercise is expected to be completed on June 30. The exercise is to update the count of dwellings in Jamaica between censuses and will cover 952 enumeration districts across the island. Acting Director of the Research, Design and Evaluation Division at Statin, Jessica Campbell, says since February of this year, the count of dwellings for 700 enumeration districts have been completed.
You know that we have a census every 10 years, right? And from this census, we create a master sampling frame. From this master frame, we select samples to be fielded for several surveys that are conducted over the years. So because the census is done every 10 years, there has to be some kind of exercise between censuses to update the list of dwellings in Jamaica, so that when we send out the interviewers on surveys, they can find accurately the dwellings that we assign them to.
According to Ms. Campbell, the listing of dwellings exercise provides the sampling frame for the selection of households to be included in the Jamaica Survey of Living Conditions and the Labor Force Survey, among others. Citizens are being urged to participate in the exercise as information provided under the Statistics Act is confidential. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
The 8th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference comes up June 16 to 20 at the Jamaica Conference Center. Accreditation is now open for media professionals wishing to cover the conference. For accreditation, go to jis.gov.jm or send an email to Judith Hunter at jhunter@jis.gov.jm or call 876-926-3590 or 876-929-1919. Deadline for accreditation Wednesday, June 5. Jamaica and the Diaspora, building pathways for sustainable development.
We are currently in the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season, which will last until November. Predictions are for a near-normal period with 15 named storms, 4 to 8 to develop into hurricanes and 2 to 4 of those being major hurricanes. Get familiar with some of the common terms you might hear during the season.
Every month of the year, there has been in our history some incidents of flooding that has taken place in some aspect of the country. And that is something that we have to take note of. Apart from monitoring and giving the forecast, we are also responsible for warnings. And so there are some warnings that we want you to take special heed to if you consider yourself to be vulnerable in any situation. When we speak about a flash flood watch, it means that there is a feature, some kind of weather system that is going to produce enough rainfall that makes it possible for you to get flooding. So it means start to watch because the water levels are going to be increasing and there is the possibility of the flooding. Now, if we start to see that in some area flooding has started to occur, or if we believe that the flooding has been so close to an area that it is going to happen in that area in a short space of time, we will escalate that flash flood watch and refer to it as a flash flood warning. So when we talk about a flash flood warning, it means not only that the flooding is possible, but the flooding either has already started to happen or is going to happen in a very short space of time because it is very close to that area. So it is important to know what the watch means as opposed to what the warning means. Usually with the warning, we will not only issue a warning, but we will also tell you what kind of actions are important or what you should not do. Like, do not go through flooded waterways because it could pose a risk to your life and to your property. Also, if you live in low-lying or flood-prone areas, if it is an area that is regularly experiencing flooding, a flash flood warning for your area would mean that now is the time to move to higher ground because the flooding has already started or is going to happen very shortly. It is also important for us to know where we live, because sometimes in our messages we might not refer to the actual town, but we will tell you what part of the country the flood watch or the flood warning is relevant to. So if we talk about central parishes, we are referring to Clarendon. We're also talking about Manchester. We're also talking about St. Anne. These are central parishes. So you have to be knowledgeable of where you live so that you know whether the message actually applies to you. The messages that we issue for hurricanes and tropical storms are watches and warnings as well, like the flooding. But in this case, for a tropical storm or a hurricane, when we issue a watch, it means the conditions that are associated with the storm or the hurricane are possible within a certain time frame. If you hear tropical storm or hurricane watch, you could get the impact of that system within a day and a half, 36 hours. If we mention that it is a tropical storm or a hurricane warning, it means that you only have 1 day before that thing can affect you. So we are moving to how quickly you need to make sure that you are prepared by naming it a watch or a warning. So the watch is the first level of the alert that there is something that is likely to affect you. But when we move to a warning, it means now is the time to batten down because you most likely are going to experience that storm or hurricane. We might have a tropical wave, which is the least of them, in that it can still cause a lot of rain and it can still cause flooding and devastation, but it will not have very strong winds associated with it. But then there is the tropical depression that is a little stronger because now you have winds that are moving with it, gusty winds, and it also has a lot of rainfall. Then you have tropical storms, which is a more severe kind of tropical depression because the winds are even stronger. And then if it gets even stronger, it could become a hurricane. So it's important that you have your radio and that your radio is battery controlled, not dependent on electricity, so that you can hear the warning messages that come from the meteorological service. Also bear in mind that if you dial 116, you will be able to hear the latest message coming out of the meteorological service related to any warnings. We cannot stop paying attention. We cannot let down our guard. You have to prepare yourself and stay prepared until we are out of the threat.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
Jamaicans have been grieving the passing of former Prime Minister Edward Seaga. We now hear from some of the mayors across the island as they share their thoughts on the life of one of our nation builders.
Jamaica has lost a great son. There's no doubt that he has made his mark and he has left a huge footprint for anyone to follow. This country, really, we are very happy as a party and very proud of the work and the leadership that Mr. Edward Seaga gives to Jamaica. And from me and my constituents, we're certainly going to be missing him.
The former Prime Minister was a very, very good man to the country. He has done a lot, especially when it comes down to culture, and we are going to miss him. Everybody is going to, because he has laid the foundation, especially with the Heart Trust NTA, and lots of persons are benefiting from it today. So we have lost a great soldier, and we look forward to somebody taking over from him and continue his good work.
We are saddened, and I know that the entire Clarendon, I speak on behalf of Clarendon right now, right, they are really saddened to hear about his passing. We know that he was a great man. We remember the things that he had done, not only for our parish, but for the country, and we'll never forget him.
Mr. Seaga has contributed a lot to the nation building. I can remember when I became mayor of Kingston, we had a lot of issues with respect to the markets, Coronation markets and other markets. I went to visit him just to ask to get some feedback from him with respect to how we approach order in the market, and he welcomed me into his home, and he gave me a lot of advice with respect to how to approach the market.
Over the Easter holidays, I spent 2 days with him. I enjoyed his company then because we spoke on many issues. And one of the things that struck me, Mr. Speaker, was during the conversation, he always focused his attention on what is happening back home. What will happen to the football? What will happen to this? What will happen to that? I had to say to him, sir, you gave almost 60 years of your life serving people. Now is the time for you to sit back and try to enjoy life, although it is difficult. But he would never have none of it, Mr. Speaker. And the song says, if loving you is wrong, then we don't want to be right. And we maintain that loving Edward Philip George Seaga was the right thing to do.
We want a productive Jamaica. We are not productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, pathway to prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Ever wondered what a hurricane looks like from above? Well, want to know more.
Hurricane Matthew is still a Category 4 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It is continuing to move northward, which takes it closer and closer to Jamaican waters. More information is coming out from the Hurricane Center.
The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1 through to November 30. These dates historically describe the period when most tropical cyclones form in the Atlantic basin. A number of tools are used, like satellites, radars, and computer models, to determine where a hurricane will go and how intense it will be. But a critical part of forecasting is done by the specially equipped NOAA aircrafts called Hurricane Hunters, which collect data through high-flying meteorological stations.
That will be transmitted back to the Hurricane Center and then made available to all the region, including Jamaica.
WC-130J Hercules is a high-wing, medium-range aircraft used in weather reconnaissance missions. This plane is configured to penetrate tropical disturbances and storms, as well as hurricanes and winter storms, and get data on the movement, size, and intensity of these systems. The NOAA Gulfstream model, nicknamed Gonzo, is a high-tech, high-flying, and high-speed twin-engine jet that flies around and over developing tropical cyclones to create a detailed picture of the surrounding upper atmosphere. It has a range of nearly 4,000 nautical miles and a cruising altitude of 45,000 feet. The Lockheed model, nicknamed Kermit, is in a class by itself. Formulated with unique scientific instrumentation, radars, and recording systems, the Kermit is able to do horizontal and vertical scans of storms.
So we'll have two meteorologists sit up front there. The person in the left seat is usually verifying the dropson data that we're collecting. The person on the right is helping with navigation. The station behind that is where our radar operator sits. So we've got a radar in the nose and a radar in the tail collecting data for us. This is where all of our data systems reside. And then back here is where we're actually dropping the sondes. So we'll prepare one of the sondes here, pass it over to that guy. He'll prepare it there just so we have a backup just in case this computer goes dead or that computer goes dead. Once the sonde is ready to go, close the door.
Cutting through the eye wall of a hurricane, lashed by extreme winds, dazzling rain, and fierce updrafts and downdrafts before entering the calm of the storm, probing every wind and pressure change during the course of 8 to 10 hours. So why aren't these aircrafts torn apart during these flights? Well, they are generally not destroyed by strong winds while in flight. It's the sheer or sudden change in horizontal or vertical winds that can destroy an aircraft or cause its loss of control. That's why NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft don't fly through tornadoes, but they are always monitoring for hotspots of severe weather and shear that they can often identify on radar and avoid if it's too severe.
We are always in direct communication with the National Hurricane Center. As soon as they get the information, we speak to them, they tell us what is happening, and so when we are ready to issue a warning, if we feel that we are threatened, we communicate that to the Hurricane Center. We are ready to issue a warning, what do you think? And we take that decision and they make it public to all the countries, not only in the region, but even wider than that through the internet and other means.
I say be careful what you teach your little children. Make sure I know something to hurt them. Mind what you're saying to my sister. She could be the next Prime Minister.
Children in Jamaica constitute anyone who is under the age of 18 years. And so once you have a child who is under your care and supervision, we encourage you at the Office of the Children's Advocate to always know where your children are. It doesn't mean that you have to be there with them, but you certainly know who they're with, where they're going, and the purpose for being there. This is a key component in helping to establish some rules in terms of some ground rules and helping to guide your children towards responsible and sensible choices, and also assisting you if something were to go wrong to know what is the first point of contact to assist your child. While you're not to look at everybody as a potential suspect, that you need to be very wary of adults, whether they're in positions of authority or not, that seek to want to have a very close relationship with your child. Somebody who wants to invite your child on an outing and it's just that adult and your child alone. Somebody who wants to take your child to a very special event to reward the child, perhaps for some performance that the child would have done in an extracurricular activity or for academic excellence. We encourage you to look at these situations very carefully and to determine whether or not it's an appropriate meeting or outing that this person is propositioning for your child. If you're enrolling your child in a daycare, ensure that you know something about the track record of that daycare. Ensure that the daycare has what we call an open door policy, which allows you to go in, see what's happening, observe how the workers there interact with the children, and know some of the ground rules that guide these interactions. If they're going on outings, whether it be school trips or otherwise, ensure that at some point, even if you can't go to all, you do attend some of them, so you get yourself integrated into the system and the culture of the school. For these tips, and of course any other information that deals with children, that is anyone under 18 years, please feel free to contact the Office of the Children's Advocate. We're at 72 Harbour Street, downtown Kingston, and our numbers are 948-1134, or website www.oca.gov.jm.
Watch what you teach your little children. Make sure I know something to hurt them. Mind what you saying to me sister, cause she could be the next Prime Minister.
The Andrew Holness-led administration is serious about facilitating economic growth and job creation. Hear how next.
We are supporting the private sector by having stable, predictable, certain macroeconomic, fiscal and monetary policy. We're supporting the private sector by ensuring that our microeconomic policies work. So in terms of ensuring that you have trained labor, in what we're doing now with HEART, NTA, and our HOPE program, making sure that our labor force is work ready, in what we're doing with improving the ease of doing business. All of these, plus our investments in infrastructure to make sure that you can get your goods quickly from factory to port for export. All that we're doing with improving the efficiency of our ports by divesting to operators who understand the port business and can make it more efficient. All of those microeconomic activities helps with the growth. A lot of stuff to do. Make no mistake, we're not where we should be and where we could be in terms of the granular management of the macroeconomic. But I believe that where we are is still a good place.
And that's all the time allotted for us on the station for today. We return tomorrow around about the same time. You may visit us at your leisure online. Visit gis.gov.jm, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and be sure to download our mobile app on your smartphones. On behalf of the entire team here at the GIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.